Okay, so best in show. So this category basically stretched across all the categories. So of all the submissions we got, we wanted to pick one that we thought was a really great example of basically using Pardot the way it was intended and kind of pushing an innovative use case forward. So I'm really excited to announce that our winner for Best of Show is Destined. For those of you who don't know Destined, they're a premier Pardot consultant based in Australia. They do amazing work and have several marketing champions like Tammy and Claudia are a few folks on the line from Destined. But they worked with a client from the property industry to workshop some criteria of what an ideal client profile would be and put together a grading profile in Pardot based off of this.
So can you tell me a little bit about the project that you submitted for your ParDreamies Award? What challenges were you looking to solve?
Yeah, so I think in Australia, property is a massive. I always say I'm not Australian, I'm South African, and I'm moving over here. Found that the Australians have a love affair with property. The amazing thing is we found that Pardot is just the most beautiful fit for that property market. And so one of the biggest challenges that all property people in property who are trying to sell either land or homes or build packages to customers find is that they really need to enrich their data very quickly about someone and where they're at in the cycle, in their buying cycle. And so by saying that, understanding what sort of situation is the client, an investor, a first home buyer, an upsizer or a downsizer, understanding, when are they ready to buy? When are they looking to buy? Have they got all their finance approved? What value of home are they looking for? Because that really helps them to focus very quickly on those that are customers that are ready now, or nurture those that might be ready or need to sort of start their process a little bit further down the line. So it's quite a common thing here. And the property market, as I say, you're ahead of the curve if you can quickly work out who you're dealing with and who you need to follow up with very, very quickly. So this is where this process came about. We were working with a property client. They sort of were try to come up with an idea of how do we capture and enrich data without someone feeling like they were filling in this long-winded form about themselves. So the landing page concept came up with the little icons on it. And those icons that are actually in the landing page is just a form. And when the customer's clicking on the icons and sort of giving the property client more information about themselves, they're actually filling out a form. And so the minute they filled out that form, they've now suddenly enriched the data. They don't feel like they've had this long-winded form to fill out, but they've gone through the process, giving the property client everything that they needed to know about them, which qualifies them instantly. Yeah.
Perfect. Can you tell me a little bit about Destined and what the company does?
Yeah, I'll take that one, Claudia, and explain it a little bit. So Destined started life out as a Pardot partner way back in 2014. We've come a long way since then, and we're actually a genuine multi-cloud partner who helps customers through their transformation around sales, service, marketing. We're actually now part of, we're a MediaMonks company. So in July this year, we merged with MediaMonks, which is part of the larger S4 Capital Group. It just means now that Destined's part of a company that's nearly 7,000 employees strong. In terms of our little APAC, we obviously work out of Australia and the APAC region. We also work in Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, New Zealand, and so have offices in Karachi as well, in Pakistan. And generally, we probably, as Destined, are about 95 employees. We've done over 500-600 projects successfully, and amongst our staff, we've probably got over 250 certifications. From a Pardot perspective, we actually have people in the team who are Salesforce University trainers who train the Pardot course. So Claudia is one of those. Yeah, and all the team that are part of Destined in the Pardot world all come from marketing backgrounds. So yeah, we really are kind of deep and passionate about marketing as well as marketing automation.
How did you determine what you were going to do to build a solution? And did you face any hurdles along the way?
Yeah,
So Pardot, did you want to jump in there? Yeah.
Sure thing. Yeah, so look, I guess that we kind of looked at it from a flow perspective. So like, first of all, like obviously Pardot has the qualification tools, the grading and the scoring tools. So that's probably, I can say, where we started. Basically, we sat down with the property client and said, hey, if you can pick up the phone tomorrow and talk to the person you most wanted, you want to talk to, what should they fulfill? And then we went through basically build out the grading profile for them, whether they are, what kind of buyer type they are, and how much budget they obviously have saved up, and what is their budget, or what deposit they have set up, what is their budget, when are they ready to buy? All of these, I guess, questions in terms of understanding what's your ideal client profile to talk to the person. And then from there, we had pretty like the building then the icon driven form and landing page Tammy just mentioned was kind of like a good flow point from there, because we had all the answers we needed. So we were able to build the landing page and the forms and the icons. We were able to build out the grading profile in the back of Pardot and build out the automation rules which drive the grading based on those criteria. And then we thought, oh, what's the best entry point? And I guess having a bit of a welcome journey when someone just is a bit browsing, and maybe, I guess it's also, I don't know, I recently went through the process myself buying my first home, and it's a bit like, obviously I'm not even like Tammy, I'm not Australian native, I'm from Germany. The property market is completely different. Not that I knew anything about that anyway either, but it's just like, you might browse and you might come to a developer or so, and you might just inquire about one particular project, or you might just simply sign up for a newsletter just to tip your toes into the water and thinking, oh, can I find out? And they thought that's the best entry point. So we grabbed basically the data coming through those forms and built a short welcome journey, an engagement program with 4 or 5 emails a week apart, basically talking about warming them up in terms of understanding who they're talking to, what they can expect in these emails coming, and always with the main call to action to complete the profile. So that basically, hey, we would like to know more about you so we can find you, your perfect dream house, your perfect property, please complete the profile. But along the way, talking about the developer, about what they are good at, and testimonials, a bit of emotional stories of other people who found their dream home with them. And that's where basically the pieces which put the solution together.
I think that one of the challenges we do find, and it's probably common for a lot of people out there, is we were able to help them build the flow, but it's the actual content that went into that journey. And it's often the case, right? You can sort of say to a customer, this is an ideal flow, this is how it could work, a great customer experience. But the content that actually goes into those emails that drive that engagement program are the most challenging for most of our clients, we find.
Yeah, sorry, it's probably also the realization, right? I don't think that anyone, I don't know what your experience is, Amber, but when someone implements a marketing automation platform, the realization they come to terms with how much marketing work that they actually need to do, in the sense of like, building out their stories, building out their ideal customer profile, building out the content to serve those ideal customer profiles. Yeah, to Tammy's point, is actually the biggest hurdle probably.
That makes sense. Can you talk a little bit about the results that your client saw after implementing the solution?
Yeah, so this particular client that we worked with, when I went back and had a look at the stats, and I thought I'd put it into the submission. Yeah, I said we'd seen sort of a 34% conversion rate for them. So with this particular client, what we did is we caught everyone filling out a newsletter form. So just a basic name and email for a newsletter form. That is what they capture. And the property buyer type, like first home, investor type of buyer type. So they're a very basic newsletter form. And then we drop everybody into this welcome journey, and if they come in from a lead and from Salesforce as well, that lead comes through and gets dropped into the journey as well. So this is kind of taking all those those entry points and then looking at the conversion rates around that. And we saw that of that 34% of those people who dropped into the journey had actually converted into going across and being assigned as an MQL into Salesforce. So their grading had met anything between a B- and an A+, which is the grading sort of parameters that we used. Which meant these are customers that we want our salespeople to reach out to straight away and have a conversation with, because they're likely that they're going to buy or they're ready to buy a property. So, yeah.
Perfect. Were there any kind of hidden results that you got from this, or unintended results? I'm kind of thinking just the data cleanliness factor of it.
Yeah, that's a hard one to, so the unintended results, I guess, is really hard to measure when you've just started using marketing automation. And so data enrichment is not something that you're really familiar with. So I can only assume, and look, we haven't asked this, but the amount of data that the sales team have to use now versus just getting a lead where they just told, hey, please call this customer, has completely changed the kind of conversations that they can have with the customer, because now suddenly sitting in Salesforce is all this enriched data about who this customer is, what their property type is, how much they have, when are they ready to buy. And so suddenly I think that in itself has just unlocked so many great conversations, the ability to have good conversations.
We had it implemented also with another client, and they actually ended up building lead lists, like the list view you can build in Salesforce. So basically we helped them build out the list views in Salesforce directly with all the relevant fields in an overview. So they basically could come in the morning, depending on the project, depending on the salesperson looking after which project, and they could come and see exactly like the new data which had flown in, and in one line view what the majority, like the most important answers were. So it's a fairly good way of I guess walking through your list as from a sales perspective to be able to follow up.
Awesome. Is there anything either of you would like to add before we end?
No, just that I think, as I said to you previously, Amber, this is a very simple solution, right? And so we were really surprised that it sort of won the best in show, because when we put it forward, we were like, oh, but what I think it really does in such a great way is it's very simple, and it helps a customer. And so this particular customer was a new implementation customer. They'd never used marketing automation platforms before. And what it did is it just helped them understand what goes into thinking about a campaign. And we were able to help them use every single element of Pardot. So, engagement programs, just basic simple emails, forms, grading, scoring, doing that assignment rule across, using automation rules. So in a nutshell, the customer, one, got a really great performing result out of the concept, but also got a really good understanding of how Pardot works, because we were able to, and we use dynamic lists and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, they were given a really good idea of how the system can work, which I'm sure most new Pardot users realize the learning curve around picking up Pardot and starting to use it is long, and it takes time. And some people feel it's very complex when they first start, because there's so many little bits and pieces that you need to sew together to make it successful. And this is just an illustration of something very simple yet effective that uses the majority of Pardot and its features.
Yeah, and I guess the other thought process of what we already went through, Amber, was potentially how can this be adopted for other industries, right? Because it's like we are working with one thing which was fun, but I helped the wine. That's not that much B2B. I guess it's again more B2C. Well, B2C makes sense in this instance. We built a profile out for him to identify what kind of wine preference his audience has. And then we used little the region, we used little country icons, to make it a bit fun and engaging, for example, or for the different wine, we used different bottles, and the red bottle or a white bottle and stuff like that. So there's, I guess it's also of fun in terms of coming up with different ideas, like how you could build that out. Another one, we're having a few clients in the financial industry. So we were thinking, in terms of, again, it's a similar, I guess if you're starting off as an investor, maybe it's similar to starting off as a first home buyer. Both you might be feeling completely out of your comfort zone because you don't know anything about either. And both could be really good entry points for such a profile to understand where someone is in their journey. So it's like, there's quite a number of possibilities how you can adopt it to different industries. Yeah.
Most definitely. That's kind of what we were thinking too. And a lot of the clients that we see are kind of earlier in their Pardot journey. And a lot of the reason why we did the ParDreamies and why we're telling everybody's stories so that everybody else out there can watch this and kind of take these ideas back to their own org and do something similar. So thank you both. That was perfect. And congratulations on your ParDreamies win. I'm really excited for you. And it's been my pleasure to help you tell your story.